I'm popping on here very quickly because I was just having, I've had a couple of conversations recently with women that have looked at what I've done in the last 18 months and gone, oh my God, you've just come out of nowhere. And what I want you to know is there is no such thing as an overnight success. And I know that we hear this, but I think sometimes we need a reminder that we can't hear it enough. Whenever you see someone all of a sudden hit the ground running, that's because it's built upon a lifetime of experiences that have led to the capacity and the ability to be able to do that. There is no such thing as an overnight success. So I really just wanted to pop in here and go, the reason why I'm running Embark is because I don't want you to hold yourself back as a practitioner or a person who's so ready to do deeper work, to put their heart and their soul out into the world, because you're comparing yourself to someone who's had a completely different life path or through the lens of perception. So I said in last night's live, Rich Lippman says how I had an overnight success after 20 years. Yeah, oh, exactly, right? I mean, you hear it from all of the greats. I can't tell you how many biographies I've read where they say the same thing. There is no overnight success. It's sat upon 20 years of hard work and experience. And that's pretty much what I'm here to tell you. So, you know, when you look at last night's video I did was all about leading with confidence, and I didn't want you to hold yourself sabotaging back. I was like, you know, it never leaves. You can't wait for that moment where all of a sudden you're just light and there's no darkness, or when you don't self-doubt, or when you're pretty sure X, Y, and Z could go wrong, or what if so-and-so thinks this, or what if I hit this old wound and that thing happens again? Because we're all human, and the difference is either you let that stop you, or you have enough mental discipline that you recognize when it's tipped from being something that builds knowledge and awareness and capacity to kind of meet all of the edges and go, no, I'm prepared, I'm set, this is good, to when it becomes something that's destructive. And at that time, it's the mental discipline to go, enough, I'm going to put, right? Remember I said to you, words are seeds, what you plant grows. What am I going to do here? And to have the mental fortitude to go, I'm not going to let myself run wild here with all of these thoughts. Guess what, darkness? You just get to come with me. Off we go. But my ability to do that while I'm teaching is because I've learned a shit ton over 20 years. I want you to know that I have never worked for someone else. I've always worked for myself. So at the age of 23, I started my own business, came out of grad as a naturopath and went, right, I'm just going to do this. I had seen practitioners like naturopaths and energy workers and yoga teachers and mystics and kinesiologists and chiropractors for so many years of my life that I saw that it was possible. And so it didn't look that scary to me. I just thought, I just have to work this shit out. All right, off I go. Because if you're in masculine mode thinking, there will only be success and failure. So you will decide when you're in your masculine, black and white, right and wrong, I've succeeded or I've failed. And if you have the propensity to sit in failure being totally crushing to you because, oh my God, now I'm self-imploding and I stop myself again, you won't go any further. The feminine within you says there is no right and wrong, there is no black and white. She's every aspect of grey and colour in between the two extreme ends of the masculine thinking. And what I've learned is that that's what I do. I go, all of this is all of this is learning. So I just go, I don't know what my long-term game is. I don't know what's going to happen in 3 months' time. This one next thing feels good. I'm just going to give it a crack, see what happens. And when I've done it, I go, okay, let's just look at it as learning. What worked? You're coming with me as I move forward. What didn't? I'm going to leave you behind. And off we go. That builds confidence. I never let it stop me because I have enough mental fortitude that I recognize when it's constructive and it helps me build structure and make sure it's quality that I'm delivering. And when it's destructive and it holds me back, and that is simply a mental discipline, that is when your masculine serves you. It is not when the feminine serves you. But when it comes to the recognition of success and failure and the ability to take the leap, it is the feminine that I want you to sit into. It is the feminine I want you to lead with. It is the capacity to leap without certainty that is the feminine, because she trusts and she knows and she's embodied and heart following enough to go, this one next thing, I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know if, just this one next thing, and I know it leads on to something that I can't conceive or perceive at the moment. So that, and I want you to know that I have run my own business since I was 23, and before that, I had a childhood that set me up to, it wasn't a childhood of support, it was a childhood of challenge. And you know the gift of challenge? You fucking learn to do it yourself because there's no one else. This is the drawback of over-supportive parenting, because you start to rely on support outside of you, for someone outside of you to tell you you can do it, for someone outside of you to let you know you're enough or that you're validated, right? It's part of the problem with the education system as it's set up as well, and praise and reward and punishment, right? All of that. I mean, that's a conversation that we have on Nourishing the Mother, but for this space, I just want you to get the concept of that. Then I had a father who was diagnosed with cancer when I was 15 years old. And radically back then, he chose to go, this is 20 years ago, 25 years ago, he chose to not go down the conventional medicine path. So I learned what it was to sit amongst stigma and to forge a path of your own. And I watched this man with cancer who ended up being eaten up from the inside out because he had never been allowed to live his purpose and his truth, ever. The world that he grew up in post-war was all about being a man and having a trade and being a breadwinner. And I watched it kill him. So at 15, I solidly knew in my body what the worst evil was. To do something that was shit fucking scary, but was truthful to the very center of my essence and being, or to do the thing that was safe and ate me up. I saw that. I knew that already at 15. I couldn't not do the thing that was shit scary because I watched death be the literal outcome of its opposite. And then through the process of being intimately involved, so he was, it's funny actually because we were never overly close, but his cancer, there was something about, I was always interested in health and we always kind of did yoga and breathwork stuff together. So by virtue of that, and also because I was the parentified child, I co-cared for my dad over the 4.5 years that he was sick with my mum. So we co-cared, I co-parented with her. So I went to all of his consultations. I was involved in all of what then in Melbourne was a really underground natural cancer therapy movement. So there were people who were like a black market importing, apricot kernels. And back then we were working with, a couple of really mad scientists on the evolution of cancer cure through urine and feces, with the concept that what we were excreting in our body was a biome that was specific to our own healing and it could be extracted. Anyway, super, super radical stuff. So I watched intimately, we did fundraisers. Back then, we were working intimately with that mini tiny group that I was like, fucking 17? And I was working with Rove McManus and his wife, Emma, who were involved in this tiny little underground group that we were part of in cancer therapy. So by the time I was 18, I was speaking on fundraiser stages with the people that were developing this next level cancer therapy. And about 6 months after that, I watched the government come into this laboratory at the back of a shed and completely take everything. Like, it is literally like out of sci-fi. It was like CIA men in black suits come in, grabbed everything out, took literally everything, this man's entire life work, everything that we'd worked on for 4.5 years, like crazy shit, right? Like crazy fucking shit. So by the time I'm 19, I've lived a very different life. I have innate knowings and understandings in my body that are far beyond my years, far beyond them. So then I studied naturopathy, and in comparison to the life I've already lived, it's really pretty pale and very academic, and I don't really fit in there. And so through that process of not fitting in, I find the places I do fit in, and I train with some of the most incredible gurus and mentors that now I just think, holy fuck, how did I even think to do that? But I was so used to not fitting in, and that was so deeply painful that I had to find the pockets that I did. And by virtue of having that pain, I had the most tremendous life experiences with the most incredible leaders, really. It actually kind of blows my mind. And then I train and mentor with my favorite lecturer in pediatrics and open up my practice. And I'm just like, I didn't wait for perfect. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know who was walking in my door. I just went, one next thing. I know enough that I can do some really hard shit. So let's just go. What's the worst that can happen? I don't know. And so I say to this beautiful person, look, this is really interesting. I'm going to do some research on your case, and I'll see you next week. People love the fact that you are so invested in their body and their health. You don't have to know. They're excited that you're their investment. So why do we wait to know? And then of course you do the thing you think you can't do, and you realize looking back, holy shit, I can do that. Cool. I didn't know I could do that when I took the leap. Turns out I can do it when I look back. That's great. That's how you build confidence. But if you're an avid learner like me, of course the comfort zone, and given a childhood with a little bit of trauma, a place of comfort is really a comfortable place to be. So just a little bit of, danger and excitement and nervousness is actually probably where I feel safest. So by virtue of that, I'm always throwing myself into the deep end continuously. And I never stop reading, and I never stop learning, and I never stop following my heart in 1,000 different shiny directions. I don't know what it's going to be. It makes sense now, 20 years later. It didn't make sense when I was looking forwards back then. And I'm pregnant, and my husband's going, what the fuck are you spending money on this? Who knows? Basket weaving course. And I'm like, I don't know. I just have to do it. So, you can't wait for the moment it all makes sense and all the ducks are in a row and it's completely fucking perfect, because that doesn't happen. And then funnily enough, it was so many years ago now that all of the, bigwigs in natural health and natural parenting now were only just starting back then. So I had the most extraordinary, intimate workshops and things with all of the conscious parenting people around the world, right? Everyone. Extraordinary experiences that built my wealth and set the path of my parenting and birthing journeys. And then I didn't know why, but I just loved birth so much I couldn't leave it after the birth of my second, so I went and studied with Rhea Dempsey for a year. I didn't have a purpose for that. I was like, I just fucking have to do it. And it was totally my calling. So then I became a doula, and I'm like, I don't know anything about I can do my birth. I don't know if I can help you in your birth. And here I was taking a leap, scary as fucking shit, because life is on the line in these circumstances, right? And I went, all right, well, I've got all my things. I'm as prepared as I can possibly be, thanks, inner critic. Now I'm going to tuck you under my wing, and I'm off to trust my heart and my body and my soul and my guidance. It doesn't come from here. It comes from here. And from the continuation that this allows you to keep stepping forwards, that you trust this more and more and more and more. And then I took on couples, and I was working with healthcare within couple dynamics. And I mean, nothing I've ever done has been because I'm so fucking prepared for it. I just leap because I'm so sure I can catch myself. And I know enough to trust this. And I've watched death up close. That is a gift. If you haven't sat in a ward of people who are dying and listened to their stories, it is a tragedy. I can't imagine you can find greater wisdom on this earth than with people who are about to pass over. I can't imagine. And I had that experience consistently between the ages of 15 to 19. And then every time we were at a birth, or there was a stillbirth, or there was a trauma, you're not prepared for that. You just leap because you trust yourself. And you trust in the universe enough that it will hold you and deliver what you need when you need it. I didn't know I could do women's circles when I leapt off. It was purely that I heard the cries of the women in my community around me who went, I don't know what you have, but I need a tiny slice of it, please. And I was like, oh, can I? And I leapt. I ran free women's circles for my community for about 2 years before I even made them paid. That's how long it took for me to understand the value and the worth and the trust and feel comfortable to put it out in the world. And in amongst all of that, I've started nourishing the mother as well. I'm learning a fucking shit ton in that. So much. And we start a membership group where we're facilitating women and running courses. And we have this podcast with overwhelming influence on women's lives and hearts and souls and bodies. And it gets to the point where you're like, I can no longer pretend that I don't have greatness inside me. And in fact, the pain of pretending is way worse than the pain of leaping. And I can't pretend anymore. And that's what happened 18 months ago. That's it. It was not an overnight success. It is stacked on a lifetime. But and this is why I think it's so important to have mentors. I didn't have me back then. And that's why I see pieces of me in so many of the women that are walking around in this world, and I think, oh fuck, I know what you need. And if I can fast track that, if I can give you 25 years of learning how to trust yourself and leap and trust your heart, then I want to do that. Yeah, Gwenny Boo. Oh my Lord, what have you got there?
I found it.
Oh, okay. She's found a fork. Parenting 101.
That was a cool food.
It is a cool fork. It's a bit like a trident, isn't it? Yeah.
And that one's actually a cool, really.
It is. I think it's actually my vintage one. It's probably come out of a box in the cupboard.
And I don't know how it got in there, Lola and Lola or Jade's room.
Neither do I. I have a date with Barbies. So I'm probably going to go to that. But if you watched my live last night, then I just want you to know the purpose of that was to give you everything that I've learnt over 25 years and to let you know that there is no overnight success. And I practice my own mental discipline every single day. So if you perceive, as you look upon social media, that glorious, vehicle, that it's effortless and easy and I'm so sure and so certain of who I am and where I'm going, no. But I trust the one next thing and I trust my heart enough to leap. And when it feels good and when I can remind myself to stop pretending, that's what you see. So that's why Embark is my heart and soul. It's every experience I've had that I'm trying to roll into 6 months. Because I want you to be able to do it. And because I see how much it's needed. And I can't be, and nor do I want to be, the one doorway for that. because I actually really want to be a mum too. And a lover. And a friend. Which means there need to be more women who know what I know. So that's why I choose to teach it. Because it's time for it to be bigger than me. So I'm so glad it speaks to your heart, because it's not an overnight success. And it's a daily practice. Anyone who it looks like it's so fucking easy and effortless and they just know who they are all of the time is fucking running from their darkness. I don't know how that ends up. But I can tell you it's more a practice of knowing that we are beings of duality. And you tuck it under your wing and you just keep going. So I hope there was something in that for you. I'm going to go play Barbies. So, from my heart to yours.